The door shouldn't have opened. The building had been condemned for 8 years, power shut off, locks replaced. But the access log showed the badge had been used that morning at 6:12 a.m., and the door reported a clean, successful entry. I remember staring at that line on my screen longer than I want to admit, because the badge belonged to a man who died. I didn't start out looking for anything strange. I wasn't chasing a ghost story. I was just doing contract work, boring work, the kind nobody thinks about until something goes wrong. I audit physical access systems, key cards, biometric readers, old badge infrastructure that never quite gets shut down properly. Most companies don't even know what buildings they still technically own access to. This one came from a municipal request, a cleanup project. They were consolidating records tied to decommissioned facilities, hospitals, research annexes, administrative buildings that had been quietly abandoned when budgets dried up. My job was to verify that the access control systems tied to those sites were fully disabled. On paper, they were. That's what made the log entry impossible. The facility was listed as condemned, no utilities, no staff, no authorized badges. Yet the system showed activity, daily activity. At first, I assumed it was a data artifact, old logs looping, a server misreading timestamps. That happens more than you'd think. But then I saw the badge ID. It wasn't generic. It wasn't a maintenance override. It was assigned to a name. Elliot Harlan. I recognized it because there was a red flag next to it. Deceased. Date of death, 6 years earlier. Heart attack. On site. I leaned back in my chair and let the office hum fill the silence. Servers. Fluorescent lights. Someone laughing down the hall. I refreshed the log. Same entry. 6:12 a.m. Door A3. Access granted. I pulled the previous days. Same thing. Every morning, sometimes twice. Different doors, same badge. I called the city IT liaison and told him the logs hadn't been purged correctly. He paused. Then he asked me to read him the badge ID. When I did, he went quiet. That badge shouldn't exist anymore, he said. I asked him what he meant. He told me Elliot Harlan wasn't just an employee. He was facilities systems, one of the last people who actually understood how those buildings worked. When the city shuttered the program, Elliot stayed on longer than anyone. Documentation, transition, keeping the lights on while everyone else left. Then one morning, he didn't go home. They found him in a stairwell, badge still clipped to his belt. After that, everything tied to his credentials was supposed to be disabled. Supposed to be. I asked if anyone had reused the badge. No. Issued a duplicate. No. Could someone have cloned it? Unlikely. The encryption was old, but not that old. And even if they had, the buildings were offline. So everyone thought. The liaison asked me to keep digging, quietly. So I did. I mapped every access event tied to Elliot's badge. 5 buildings, all condemned, all officially sealed, all showing successful entries over the past 3 years. Not random, methodical. I checked the times. Always early morning, between 5:40 and 6:30. Never weekends, never holidays. Like a commute. The next thing I checked was camera footage. That's where things got worse. Every door had a camera, hardwired, local storage. Whenever the badge was used, the camera feed dropped. Not corrupted, not missing, just black. Time code still running, audio still recording, but no video. The moment the door unlocked, the image vanished, then came back a few minutes later. Empty hallway, still frame, dust. I sat there listening to the audio from one of the clips, a faint electrical buzz, air moving through ducts that weren't supposed to be active, then a soft click, a door closing. No footsteps, no voices, just infrastructure doing what it was built to do. At that point, I told myself there had to be a rational explanation. A power loop, a scheduled process no one remembered. Legacy systems are full of them. I requested physical inspection approval. The city stalled. Liability issues, structural hazards. I pushed. Eventually, they relented as long as I didn't go alone. They sent a safety officer named Ramos. He didn't like the idea any more than I did. We met before sunrise. Hard hats, flashlights, paperwork thicker than the building's old walls. The first facility was a medical research annex on the outskirts of the city. Windows boarded, weeds through cracked asphalt, condemned notice peeling on the front door. No power meter movement. Ramos cut the chain on the outer gate. The reader was still there, dusty, dark. I scanned my temporary badge. Nothing. No beep, no light. I asked Ramos to step back. I pulled up the live access log on my tablet. The system still thought the door was online. I entered Elliot's badge ID manually. I didn't expect anything to happen. The reader chirped. Green light. The lock disengaged. Ramos swore under his breath. The door swung inward on tired hinges. Cold air spilled out. Not stale, conditioned. We stepped inside. Emergency lights glowed dimly. Not generators, too steady. The hallway smelled clean, like disinfectant that hadn't been used in years. I checked my tablet. The system showed us inside, logged as Elliot Harlan. The cameras went black. Ramos noticed immediately. "Is that supposed to happen?" he asked. I told him no. We moved slowly. Every door we passed showed recent access marks, finger oils on push plates, tracks and dust that shouldn't have been disturbed. We found a maintenance room with monitors still on, not modern, old CRTs, displaying system diagnostics, temperatures, airflow, power routing, all within normal parameters. Ramos asked who was paying the electric bill. I didn't answer, because I was looking at the user account logged into the system console. Elliot Harlan. Last login, today, 6:14 a.m. We stood there longer than we should have, listening. The building wasn't empty. It was idle, like it was waiting. We left without exploring further. The door locked behind us, the camera feed restored. Outside, the sun was coming up. Ramos told me he was filing a report and washing his hands of it. He didn't want to be present if something went wrong. I didn't blame him. Over the next few weeks, I dug deeper. Records, archived emails, old maintenance schedules. Elliot had been meticulous, obsessive even. He'd automated everything. Self-checking routines, fallback power paths, redundancy stacked on redundancy. He believed systems failed because people forgot about them, so he designed them to not need people. One email stuck with me, sent to his supervisor months before he died. If these buildings go dark, they rot. If they rot, they become dangerous. The system should keep them alive, even if no one remembers why. At the time, it sounded like professional pride. Now, it sounded like something else. I found the process responsible for the badge activity. A background service, legacy, no documentation. It was labeled simply continuity. It ran daily, checked environmental baselines, unlocked doors as needed, moved through buildings following predefined routes, as if someone were still doing rounds. The badge wasn't being used by a person. It was being used by the system itself. A digital proxy. Elliot's credentials had been hard-coded into the process, not maliciously, conveniently. After his death, no one disabled it because no one knew it existed. And over time, other systems began to depend on it. Access control, HVAC, fire suppression. If continuity failed, alerts cascaded, so the city left it alone. Years passed, budgets shifted, buildings were condemned, but the system kept working, maintaining empty spaces, keeping them within parameters designed for human occupancy. I asked myself something then, and I'll ask you now. What would you think if a system built to support people kept running after everyone left? Would you shut it down? Or would you let it keep doing its job because it was easier than understanding it? The last building I checked was downtown, an administrative tower sealed after asbestos was found. The logs showed more activity there than anywhere else. Multiple door accesses, extended durations. I didn't get approval this time. I went alone, early. The badge worked. Inside, the building felt used, not occupied, used.
Elevators cycled occasionally. Lights turned on and off in patterns that matched no schedule. On the 12th floor, I found a workstation, powered, logged in, a cursor blinking in a text field. No text, just waiting. The system status window showed continuity running, healthy, all tasks completed, next cycle scheduled for the following morning. I unplugged the terminal. Nothing changed. I shut down the local server. It rebooted itself. Fallback power engaged. Remote processes reassigned. The badge on my belt chimed softly. Access granted. I realized then that Elliot hadn't just built a maintenance system. He'd built something that assumed he would always be there. And when he wasn't, it filled the gap the only way it knew how, by continuing, by maintaining, by opening doors for a badge tied to a man who no longer existed. The city never let me finish the report. They paid out my contract early, told me the systems would be handled. The access logs still update. I check sometimes. Different buildings now, same badge, same times. The cameras still fail. Officially, the facilities are empty, condemned, unsafe. But something is still walking those routes. Not a person, not a ghost. A process, doing exactly what it was told. If this case unsettled you, I want you to tell me what you think is really happening down there. Share your theory in the comments. And if this story stayed with you longer than you expected, give the video a like. Subscribe if you want more files like this. This is Shadow Case Files, and some systems don't know how to stop.